I'd like to take a few moments and give you my techniques I use for photographing waterfalls. I love doing waterfalls. I just love the water. I love the motion of the water. I love the sound of the water as it's streaming by. It's just something to me that it draws me to it all the time. It's one of my favorite subjects is water of any sort, waterfalls, streams, the ocean, whatever it may be. But in this case, we'll talk about waterfalls. Now, some essential equipment you're going to need if you're going to film waterfalls properly is obviously you need a tripod. You have to be able to lock the camera down and steady it because we're going to be working with slow shutter speeds. Now, to get those slow shutter speeds, you're going to need an ND filter, a neutral density filter that's going to help again to reduce the amount of light coming into the camera. I also use a polarizing filter for two reasons. One, it eliminates any flare or those reflections you don't want off the water. Plus, it also eliminates, again, even more light getting into the camera so you can really slow down that shutter speed. So this one here you're seeing that I showed is done without any of that being used, without any filters or anything of that nature. And it's taken at a 500th of a second. And again, it freezes the water, it freezes the event, and I suppose that's not bad, but that's not what I'm looking for. What I want is something more like this. And by applying the techniques I was talking about, this image now is at 2 seconds rather than the 500th of a second. And hopefully you can see the difference. I love the effect of the silkiness of the water, the way it's coming through. To me, it's a beautiful, almost a dreamlike image. So to get this type of effect, again, just in summary, you need a slow shutter speed. I would recommend a half second or slower and experiment. Try even longer if you can. You're going to get some very, very interesting results. Best time to do this, of course, would be either early morning or late evening when the sun is just coming up or is just dropping down over the horizon where there's less light. It's a much softer light. It's what the pros call the magic hour, and would be the best time to do it. If it's overcast, you can probably get away with this during the middle of the day, but again, it would have to be overcast so the light is not as harsh. Your camera settings, you want the lowest ISO you can put in so that it's, again, going to slow down the shutter speed. I would recommend an aperture of around f16 or f22. Again, this type of aperture is going to force a slower shutter speed. The other way you could do it, of course, if your camera has the capability, is to set your shutter speed at, say, a half second or a full second, and let the camera then determine the aperture that's going to be used. Either way, you want to be looking at least a half second or slower to get these kind of results. Now, this works as well, not just for the waterfall, but probably if you're photographing a waterfall and you turn around, you're going to see a stream that's leading off into the distance. And the same effect can be used for these streams. For instance, here's a shot taken at the base of the waterfall where I didn't use any filters or didn't adjust in any way. And it's at a 600th of a second. And again, I guess it's okay, but it's, to me, it's not what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for here. And the same techniques were applied by using the filters, by stopping down, and by using the lowest ISO. And this allowed me to take a 2-second exposure here. And in my mind, this photo on the right is just so much better than the one on the left. So that's just the way I do it, the way I go about trying to photograph waterfalls or any moving water or any motion shot in any way is quite effective by doing it this way. If you want to see more information, we have a website at www.yourphotoproject.com, and we would hope to see you there.